Every time I bring it out, I always get comments. Probably the most common comments have to deal with Back to the Future, which is understandable. It's iconic of that movie. But there are actually some people that know the history of the car. You know, the history is kind of a big allure for me too. The whole John DeLorean story, the fact that the car company went out of business. It's kind of a shame his story is a rags to riches to rags story. But at the same time, everyone knows what a DeLorean is. My name is Geoff Ombao, and I drive a 1982 DeLorean DMC-12. The DeLorean has always been a dream car for me ever since I was a little kid. There was a guy that lived up the street from me who had one, and every time he drove by the house, it was like watching Santa Claus driving the ice cream truck by. Always stayed with me. And fast forward a number of years, now I'm a working guy. Started looking around on the internet, found a few, drove a few, and finally found this one. The previous owner had only put on maybe 19,000 miles. It was in really good shape, and I thought to myself, you know what? Might as well pull the trigger. So I bought it, and 9 years later, I still have it. I think it's the design. The car is really entertaining to drive, but they're not super fast cars. So what's left is it's just an interesting, beautiful looking car. I love the really crisp industrial technical lines, the raw brushed stainless steel and the gullwinged doors, which are real dramatic. Still really looks futuristic to me. Really don't see anything like it on the road. I considered going to college to learn how to design cars, but it didn't happen. I ended up going another route. To a certain degree, I was kind of hoping that buying a classic car would kind of satiate this need, and it didn't. If anything, it kind of pushed me further into this addiction. I hit my mid-40s, and I thought to myself, you know what? I don't try to become a car designer now. I never will. I put together a portfolio, and I applied to Art Center College of Design. And I said, great, all right, if I get in, I'm going to quit my job, I'm going to drop out of corporate America, I'm going to become a college kid again. I open up my mailbox and I get the acceptance letter, and I'm like, yes, I got in. I'm going to learn how to become a car designer. I think I did the right thing. It's been one of the most challenging experiences that I've gone through, and I mean that in a good way. I wouldn't say that the DeLorean was the catalyst. Certainly every time I went downstairs to my garage to go to work every day, I would see it, and it would kind of remind me there are these beautiful things out there, and maybe you could be one of these people that creates one of these beautiful things. The packaging of the DeLorean is a lot different. It's super low. The seating position is really laid back. You are almost lying down. I don't know if that's the most efficient way to drive, but it certainly feels neat. The steering feel, it's got manual steering. When you're in a parking lot, it can be a little heavy, but once you get it going, you can actually feel a lot from the road. It gives you kind of a very different perspective. It's perhaps a little more visceral than a more modern car. For me, the DeLorean story is really interesting. I mean, here you have this guy he was a very talented engineer. He arguably started the muscle car movement when he put the GTO on the market. He was in line to become the president of General Motors, but instead he said, you know what, no, I want to do my own thing. And he took a risk and he started his own company. He left General Motors and he started developing the car, and he shopped manufacturing around to various different countries. Northern Ireland came back with an offer for him that was pretty good, but the labor force there had never built a car before. So that was kind of a problem for him. I guess the first batch of cars that came out weren't assembled really well. But I mean, if you think about it, a brand new car, brand new company, brand new workforce, of course there are going to be some glitches. They ironed them out pretty fast. I mean, my car's a 1982, so it was only the second model year. Here we are 32 years later, and the car's pretty good. I mean, it's very reliable. I haven't had to put much money into it at all, other than kind of regular maintenance and wear items and whatnot. The body panels fit fine, the skin still looks brand new. They built DeLoreans for 3 years, 1981 through 83. There are a lot of reasons why the company went out of business. Towards the end, the U.S. was in an economic downturn, so people weren't buying anything, much less these exotic and, at that time, very expensive cars. I think they went for in the mid-20s, so to put that in perspective, the DeLorean cost probably about as much as a 911. People didn't have money to buy them, so sales started to plummet. The DeLorean needed money for the company, and the FBI basically set him up. They had a guy come to approach him and say that he could come up with the financing for him to help save his company. He flew to Los Angeles and met with some people. As it turned out, it ended up being a drug sting. So they had people show up with cocaine in a suitcase and whatnot. According to DeLorean, prior to the meeting, he wanted to back out, and he was told, well, if you back out, we're going to harm your family. So he really couldn't get out of that situation. At any rate, it happened, and what a lot of people don't know is that he was acquitted. The jury found that it was entrapment. So this poor guy, he got set up by the government, lost his reputation, lost his company, and that's sad. But maybe that's not the point. Maybe the cool thing is that he actually was brave enough to sort of buck the system and do something different and do things his own way. He did something pretty remarkable there. He actually built the car, and the car lived on. I mean, it's got such a cult following. You get such a positive response when people see it. He did build something from nothing, and that something, the DeLorean, turned out to be such an iconic car.